Hi, my name is Nahid Kazaza. I'd like to welcome you to our Career Exploration Series. And today I'm here with Stephanie Chappell. Thanks for coming. Stephanie is a gerontologist. So maybe, Stephanie, we could start by explaining just a little bit about what that is for people who don't know.
Sure. Gerontology is the study of aging, and it's really a multidisciplinary field. So it covers sociology, psychology, biology, really pretty much all aspects of aging. Typically, people in the gerontology field work more in sort of a social work capacity or for a nonprofit or in public policy and things like that.
Okay, and that's just what I was going to ask you, is what different kinds of jobs might someone do who's a gerontologist?
Yes, yeah. So, there's all types of businesses and organizations that focus on the older consumer. So, some that come to mind immediately are healthcare related, senior housing, assisted living, things like that. A lot of people work in more of the public policy area, so really trying to push for changes in Social Security and Medicare and things like that that could really help our older population. And then a big role is sort of a care manager or case manager type role, really helping older adults and their families and caregivers navigate the system and the services. We have a rich array of services available for older people in this country, but they're often very fragmented and confusing and things like that. And so these professionals really help people navigate that completely new world to them when a care issue, for instance, comes up.
Wow, that's really interesting. So basically you go into school and you study aging, the whole process of aging, but then there's so many different ways that you can apply it, and you've given several examples. So you can apply it in government to help change policies, to make to serve the aging population. You can actually work in a social work capacity where you're directly serving the aging population. You can serve in business where they're marketing to older consumers, so lots of different opportunities. How did you initially get interested in this? Was it back in high school or you know?
Yeah, it didn't really go as far back as high school. I was always interested in science and biology and things like that, and my father was a dentist, and so I was interested in maybe a healthcare type job or becoming a doctor. So in college I was pre-med and majored in biology, and over time I started to see that some of the other students had this fire in their eye. They wanted to be a doctor, and whatever it would take, they were going to do it. And I just started to see, hey, I don't really know if I want it that bad. And it's a big commitment. And when you're in college, thinking about 8 years more of education and residency and all that seems like a pretty big insurmountable task. And so I thought, well, I'm not really sure. And so I changed my major to psychology. I've always been fascinated by, what makes people tick and the different personalities, and we're all so different, and why is that, and things like that. So I studied psychology, and I helped my professor. I volunteered to help with some studies on memory and aging. And he noticed, he says, wow, you're really good with the older subjects. Have you heard about this field of aging and how our nation and the world is going to be aging rapidly, and there's going to be just this huge amount of people who are coming into their later years. For instance, right now 10,000 people turn 60 every day.
Wow.
So the 78 million baby boomers are rapidly aging into 60, 65 and beyond. And so I thought, wow, what a huge opportunity. There aren't a lot of people in this field, and it seems to be a field of the future. And went to the library and read all I could about. At that time we didn't really, weren't able to get on Google and look it up, so that's how old I am. But
Me too.
But anyway, so we really was fascinated from the beginning, and I tend to be a little bit of an impatient person. I like, to make things move fast and to work in that kind of environment. And so I always thought that more of the business for-profit environment would be more towards my style and interests. And so there's very few people with a master's in gerontology and an MBA. And so when I was in graduate school, I decided to go for that and to be one of the first to get that degree. The first at my school, I went to University of Southern California, and I was the first person to complete that dual program. And have really enjoyed, you know, being a kind of a pioneer in the business side of gerontology and working in more of the corporate setting.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So I think one thing to let people know who are going into college, again, that you can change your mind. And, you know, Stephanie has this great pioneering, you know, specialty that she picked out, but she didn't figure that out in high school. She didn't know in high school that she was going to do that. First, she sort of geared towards pre-med and biology, and then you said, wait a minute, I don't know that I want to be a doctor, and this is what I really like, again, and we've heard this in other interviews, really think about what you like, and you liked psychology, and then the theme of mentors is showing up again, where usually you talk to your professors and they'll give you some insight, and this particular professor really inspired you to look at gerontology. You were getting your master's in gerontology. How long before you realized that you could do the dual major, gerontology and business? Was it right from the beginning, or did you kind of figure it out as you went along?
It was figured out as I went along. About a year after, I had already kind of put in a year in the master's in gerontology program, and we had it's a great school, and there's a class called, I think it was Professional Issues in Aging. And so the whole class was geared to kind of doing informational interviews that you talked about a lot. So we would have to go out and interview other professionals doing something that we hoped we would do. So I was interested kind of in the business side. I had a minor in business from undergrad. And so I interviewed some people, and they kept saying, you know, the one thing I wish I would have done is get an MBA. I wish I would have, you know, got that business degree, because it's not, gerontology isn't that recognized within the business world. And they had kind of struggled not having those credentials. And so they said, you know, and I heard about how there was a dual degree program in the works for years at the school, but you know, and sometimes in universities things move really slowly, and they just had never gotten it off the ground. So I went over and I met with the people at the business school, and then I met with the administration at the gerontology school, and I said, hey, you know, I'm your first student. I got a 4.0. I'm halfway done. You know, let's do this thing. I can be the first student.
Oh, I love it. I love how you took initiative. So that's another great example of figuring out what you want. The fact that she information interviewed and then discovered that people in gerontology regretted that they didn't have that business expertise, I think is a testament to what we're doing here, which are these career exploration interviews, so that you can figure out what you want to do with your career by getting different experiences. So great. And then you took the initiative. You said, let me just go see if I can make this work. I love that. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to come back and talk about career after school.